When Auntie Jessie died this year, it was the end of an era, the last of the original New Zealand Henry children. These photos go from Shetland to the third generation. Titles are what my cousins and I would refer to. Sallyvo, Shetland, where it all started. Robert Henry had 3 children, Mary, Robert and John, their grandfather. Robert had 2 children, another Robert and Christina, Tina Jacobson. The family tree does go back several generations. This is the house in Shetland where John was raised. In 1972, Bob, or Rob as his brothers and sisters called him, visited Shetland. He met his first cousins, Robert and Tina, and helped haymaking. Also helping Tina ruin or shearing the sheep. And next helping get the peats in for winter fuel. When John Henry came to New Zealand about 1907, he came to Bowman, where his uncle was living. He lived in this hut and was gold mining. Over the hill at Ray's Junction lived the McDonalds. There's Mary, Bess, Duncan, Joanna, our grandmother, Ella, and either Robert or William. Our great-grandmother, Peterina, with Mary, Bess and Joe. A young Mary and our grandmother, Joanna. This family of Robert MacDonald, taken at William's wedding, March 1910. The back row is Archibald, the Pollocks, Duncan, the Taylors or Hinsleys, Joanna, us lot, Alec had no children, Robert, Duncan MacDonald, William, Rex MacDonald. In the front was Mary, no children, Peterina, their mother, and Bess, the McGowans. This slide explains it all in more detail. On the 28th of September 1910 in Edendale, John Henry married Joanna MacDonald. Great Aunt Mary's shop in Edendale, where the bride got ready. This shows their children, who they married, and their offspring. This is the Mokarita property before they shifted here. They started married life at Redan, now Pars, shifting to Mokarita about 1920. The 3 oldest children started school in Mimihow. This photo was taken about 1930 from the Bush Hill opposite the house. This was where the children went to give their mother and father some peace and quiet. Any of these comments I make like this are what Auntie Jessie told me about the photos. This is a photo of Granny and Grandad taken in 1933. The next 3 photos are of an accident in the bush. The three men, Grandad, Uncle Jack and Dad, were cutting firewood when one of the horses slipped. It tipped right over. Jessie and Joan, who were there keeping the billy boiling, were sent for help on their ponies. Uncle Jack informed them that there were wild bulls about, just to scare them. They were quite thankful when they reached the road. This is an extract from Auntie Jessie's memoirs that she wrote. It just about sums up exactly what I have said, but you'll probably have to pause it to read it. Grandad had pigs. This is a sow with her litter. Grandad had an Ayrshire stud. This is a bull that almost killed him. The bull, Grandad knocked Grandad over and started rubbing his horns across his chest. The bull had a ring in its nose with a rope attached. Auntie Jessie, who was about 8 or 9, alerted Dad, who managed to get the rope over a tree branch and pull the bull away. Auntie Jessie said she was very scared. Thankfully, the only damage was a ripped shirt and red marks across his chest. This is what Auntie Jessie wrote about the bull episode. Auntie Joan playing on the full bags of chaff. Not the best quality picture. This is Auntie Betty, disc in the ground, ready for next year's oats. The Henry family, taken at Granny and Grandad's silver wedding, 1935. This looks like the more formal photo taken. Edith, Jessie and Betty with their pony. Jessie and Joan with the doll Jessie got for Christmas. And Easter with the Harkness boys, Frank and Tom from Dunedin. They came quite often for holidays. We've got Jack, Jessie, Betty, Ina, Joan, Edith, Auntie Mary holding the cauliflower and Bob. Joan, Granny and Ina. The horses are probably Bluebird, Rory and Biddybid. Away to school. Jessie and Joan on Biddybid and Jack on Dapple. Swimming in the Catton. The swimming hole was down the back, about where the bridge is now. The island Auntie Jessie mentions in her memoirs is just above that. Granny and Joan. Molly on her 21st birthday. Jessie on the horse she hunted about 1940, Rory. Family photo taken when Rob, Dad, was home on his final leave, 1940. Jack in his army uniform with Betty and Jessie. Edith's wedding to Jack Meiklejohn. Joan and Jack were the attendants. Then we move to another generation, Bob and Jack with Jean. And then there were two. Mum and Dad with Jean and I standing in front of the old house. A new house behind that was built about 1947. A photo from the hill taken in the 60s. The original house was under the big trees. The old shed at the back was where the cow shed was. This is a family in 1960, shortly after Granny died. There's Ina, Molly, Rob, Betty, Edith, Jack, Jessie and Joan. This is Ina and Clive Wallace. They lived in Wellington. I couldn't find one with Wayne and them. Now we move to the third generation. This is Wayne Wallace with Jean, Mac and I. Molly and Stan Mathers with Olive and Duncan. Bob and Matty Henry, Alistair, Jean, Mac. Edith and Jack Meiklejohn. Betty and Bill Murray. Alec, Elizabeth, David and twins Isabel and Eileen. Jack and June Henry, Pam, Margaret, Fiona, Jackie. Jessie and Cliff Burris, Keith, Jill, Neil. Joan and Bill Gunn, Graham and Mervyn. Photo with most of the family taken on the Otago Southland boundary in 1960, shortly after Granny died. The road had only been opened about 3 years. It followed the track that our mothers and fathers rode their horses on. To finish with, there's another generation, starting with Auntie Ina and Dad, then I'm there with my 3 children, Kylie, Angus, Ross.